Hi, Dylan's here. Just wanted to add a bonus video because there was a lot of things that happened since Quinn and I last recorded this. First off, I want to acknowledge congratulations to UConn women's basketball on securing their championship. Paige Buchers and UConn do it again in dominant fashion. They beat South Carolina earlier in the regular season pretty handily, but man, it was not even close. So congrats to UConn. In other news, the Final Four. Well, first of all, I suck at picks. Don't bet on me picking picks again. But as well, I was right about how you guys needed to watch it because not one, but both of the games lived up to the hype. Auburn, Florida, obviously, their regular season matchups are great, and this didn't disappoint, but Florida was just too much. They were too much to handle, and their offensive juggernaut, they had a good comeback in the second half. That dunk was insane as well, but Florida's star player, man, he is just impossible to stop. And for Houston, it's going to be tough for them to stop him, but Houston, Duke, how the did you blow that game? That was one of the most shocking tournament moments ever. Duke was the better team throughout the game. Through all phases, Houston looked like they had no answers until the last 5 minutes of the game. Duke didn't score a single field goal, with the exception of free throws, in the last 10 minutes. They could not handle Houston's press defense. They kept missing free throws. Cooper Flagg looked a little unrealistic, missing some shots. Controversial call, too. I don't think that was a foul on him at the end, but when you blow a lead, you deserve to lose. And Houston, I'm happy for their coach. I'm happy for their team because they always seem to be the bridesmaids and never the bride when it comes to tournaments. They always go on deep runs, but they never win it all. So at least Houston has a shot to win it. I think Houston's going to put up a fight, but I'm going to give the edge to Florida for now in predictions. We'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll be a competitive game. The final thing I wanted to talk about was Alex Ovechkin. Congratulations to him, breaking Wayne Gretzky's record for the most goals of all time. We'll probably talk about that, plus the other news on the next episode, DQ Frenzy. But so proud of him. I know I'm a Pens rival, and I've been an OV and Capitals hater, but you have to acknowledge and give him his flowers. I mean, the game was on the road, and they still were going nuts. That's how respected OV is. His wife and his mom and his kids being there, and it was an emotional moment. One of the greatest players of all time. But yeah, what a sports weekend it was. Let's get back to the show and resume.
Hey, Dylan. So there's a man at a baseball game the other day, and he wondered why the ball kept getting bigger and bigger. And then it hit him.
A baseball joke on a football podcast? Sacrilege, I say, Quinn. But welcome to the DQ Frenzy, where we have chill vibes and cold takes. I said the line finally.
Wow, woohoo!
For our episode today, we got a heck of a lineup here. We've got rules changes, we got contract extensions, and we also got an AFC West to review. But let's start with the man of the hour. This just happened today. That is Geno Smith of the Las Vegas Raiders. Kind of a move that caught us off guard here, Quinn. He signed a 2-year, $75 million extension today with the Raiders. This kind of puzzles me a little bit because they originally had him for a year, but now all of a sudden they've extended him. And I don't know if Geno's worth investing 2 years into your team when the team around you, besides, say, Bowers and Crosby, are really that valuable. So I don't know what to think of this move. Quinn, what do you think about the extension happening today?
I mean, clearly the Raiders are committed to Smith as their quarterback. I mean, they wanted him. They traded for him. I mean, the extension makes sense. They clearly like him. Personally, I wouldn't want him for that long, but then again, it wasn't a super long deal. They could have given him a whole new one or, a much longer extension, but they didn't. So I think this is saying, like, yeah, we like him, he's our guy, but he's not, our future exactly the past 2 years. So, I mean, for their purposes here, it makes sense. Should do them a solid, and then they can reassess the quarterback situation later, but at least that's taken care of. The Raiders have a lot of problems, which I'm sure we'll talk about today, but this is a good way to take care of one of those and not have to worry about it. So, yeah, good move.
Geno's an upgrade over whatever the hell the Raiders had last year. Minshew, Party Boy, Aiden O'Connell, traditional like man-generated QB. Smith's an upgrade, but he can only get you so far. He's kind of got a bit of a ceiling. So I think to commit to him for 2 years rather than giving him a 1-year trial run's a bit odd to me as a Raider. Maybe it's because they usually just never have a good enough pick to be able to get a good quarterback. They don't this year. So I don't blame them this year. I just think we talked about it for so much. Next year's quarterback class looks really good throughout, especially in the first couple of rounds. So for the Raiders to do that and think Geno's their guy, Geno's going to have to exceed a lot of expectations. Brock Bowers and Geno, I think, will develop great chemistry because Bowers did good with dog shit at QB. He had one of the best fantasy tight end, not just fantasy, but real life tight end seasons in history as a rookie. So sky's the limit for him, but everything else needs fixed. They've tried to address their running back room. They probably need an Ashton Dempsey in the draft. We'll get to that, but a little sneak peek there. Defense is kind of a mess besides Max Crosby. So Raiders are kind of in a limbo situation in a stacked AFC West. So they're just trying to do something. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's like a horrible move per se, just kind of a perplexing one, especially after originally looking like they're just going to commit to him for 1 year. But good for you, Geno. Get that bank. You did it with Seattle. You did it here. From a reject to the Jets to this, everyone leave the Jets. That's a rule of thumb right there. The other extension we got is Trey McBride. He has become the new highest paid tight end in the NFL. I feel like every single week we say highest paid blank for anything, but nonetheless, I feel like this one makes a lot more sense, a lot more deserved. He signed a 4-year extension worth $76 million and $43 million guaranteed, and he had the best season of his career in an underwhelming Cardinal team, especially with the receiving room with Marvin Harrison being disappointing and Kyler's inconsistencies. McBride thrived still. So, Quinn, what do you think about McBride being extended?
I mean, he's definitely one of the better young tight ends. Although it's still kind of disappointing seeing his lack of production in terms of touchdowns. So, I mean, you'll see the Lions tight end. He did really well. I believe he's the same year as McBride, too. But
yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but he does really well. He gets touchdowns, too. But there's another tight end of that same year. I forget what team he's on, but he's also pretty good. But so he doesn't quite have the touchdown production, but he is very good. So, yeah, I think well-deserved. I mean, it's just whoever gets paid most recently is the highest paid of the position, it seems like, for the most part. So, yeah, he got in at a good time. I don't know, however, if there's many other tight ends waiting to get a deal done or going to get moved or anything that would take the highest paid tight end title away from him. So, yeah, good for him.
It's the market, Quinn. Everyone's got to be the highest paid, even if it's deserved or not.
Of course.
Final move here, and this one has got to be the funniest of the day. And I don't even have a picture of him because he nor the team is worthy of one. Joe Milton has been traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a mid-round pick. What in the hell are we doing? Jerry Jones stumbling his way to another half-ass move as Micah Parsons is still waiting to be paid. Let's go trade for a QB that will never see the light of day on a field and had one good game against a bunch of third stringers in the preseason. Quinn, I'm going to let you have the floor on this one since the Cowboys are such a fun topic to talk about.
Why did they do this?
Well, first, I'll mention too, they also, I didn't see this until now, but they traded Trey Lance, or I guess Trey Lance left is now with the Chargers on a 1-year deal, which is interesting because Trey Lance is just a failure so far in the NFL, at least. Yeah, but that's a whole different story of 3 picks for ugly. But I think it's rather interesting because I think Joe Milton looked pretty good in preseason. I know he was like out competing almost Drake May, and there's a kind of controversy of were the Patriots actually going to start when the time comes to start the rookie? But I'm a big fan of this move actually. I think it's a good one. I mean Dak's getting old. He's hurt a lot. Cooper Rush is gone. Trey Lance is gone. They needed a backup quarterback, and I think Milton could be the guy. I mean, like I said, Dak kind of has is he going to be here? Is he going to be gone? He got a contract extension, but the Cowboys are weird. And I think it was First Things First pointed out that the past 2 quarterbacks for the Cowboys, Tony Romo was a backup they got from somewhere else, started when somebody got hurt, and then took over the job. Dak Prescott, same thing. They drafted him in the 4th round. And then he started for Tony Romo when he got hurt and then took over as a starter. So, Milton has a potential. It was one good game end of the season. He did throw an interception, but he played well. And so, I mean, if Prescott gets hurt this year, next year, coming years, and Milton comes in and starts playing really well throughout multiple games, I could see them just going with Milton. So, I think this is a more exciting move, one of the Cowboys' best moves in a while. But obviously, not going to be their new starting quarterback this year or anything. But could turn out really well for them.
The return's what gets me because I just don't think Milton's worth anything less or more than a 6th or 7th round pick at best. And Dak is older, but then the extension just looks bad that you signed last year again at the last minute. So I just don't know what to think of this. Is he a decent backup? Maybe. He might have to step on the field considering Dak's injury issues and the fact that he's coming back. Am I confident, though, that he'll be any better than a Cooper Rush? No. Not with the lack of experience. At least Rush has that. So I'm surprised you compliment the Cowboys. I'll give you credit for doing that, but it perplexes me a lot more than anything. Final piece of player news before we get into the rules. This was just around a little over an hour ago. Julio Jones has announced his retirement from the NFL. Your poor Eagles lost another receiver. Oh, darn, what a shame. It's not like you have 2 other all-pros. But if you watched prime Julio as a kid, which, Quinn, I don't think you started getting it. Well, I think you started getting into the league when Julio was still really good with Atlanta, but I watched him throughout his career. And even his rookie year, he stood out. Prime Julio was a freaking menace in Atlanta. It was him and AB back then competing to be the best receiver in the league. And at least Julio, even though he was way washed by the end of his career, compared to AB, he's actually a sane person and a good dude. And, dude, the catch at the Super Bowl against the Patriots, the one where he toe tapped it, was incredible. Just too bad the Falcons couldn't finish the job. It's a shame that man... could it truly win a Super Bowl, as an elite player? He had to get a pity one from Philly, for barely playing. But it's still, though, congrats on your retirement. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I haven't had a chance to look up his stats, but I would think they're Hall of Fame worthy for how much time he's put into the league. It's just a shame the last couple of years he wasn't the Julio we all know, but it's kind of trending that way for a lot of receivers. I think D-Hop's heading that way too. But congrats on retirement, Julio. You were one of my favorite players growing up, and hope you make it to Canton one day. Quinn, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, he was a really great player. I mean, it's a shame he lost that Super Bowl. I don't think he was with the Eagles last year for the Super Bowl. He was in 2023, but I don't think he was on the schedule. I think he was a free agent, or at least he wasn't with them. So unfortunately, he never got a Super Bowl. But
okay,
yeah, great player. I think probably Hall of Fame. yeah, kudos to him. Yeah, he seems like actually like a nice guy. But yeah, he's had a really nice journey, and I'm glad he's not like he's ending it on a fine note and not like, oh man, I just lost the Super Bowl, let me retire.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know why I thought he was. I just remember him being in Philly, but I had no clue where
Yeah,
he was last year. But you could probably be right. He was probably just a free agent, decided to ride off into the sunset. But again, congrats to Julio. But now it's time to have some fun with these rule changes, Quinn, because we got a doozy of them because the coach had their annual coaches meeting. We'll get to that in a bit. Quinn, you get to take a look at the picture and analyze it for the first time, Rich Eisen style, when we make fun of the looks and the smiles and the outfits. But first, we got to talk about the rules, all the enforcements, all that fun stuff. Well, actually, it's not fun stuff, Quinn, because it's still the no fun league here in the NFL because
no fun.
that CD Lamb nose wipe celebration, he is not allowed to do that anymore, along with a bunch of quote unquote violent gestures. So, NFL Vice President of Operations Troy Vincent added that any celebrations with gang connotations or anything like that, brandishing a gun, will result in a 15-yard penalty. Think of the children, I guess, for this stupid rule. I have no clue what to think about this one. I've always just hated this no fun league thing. I mean, the stupid, like, oh, it's a gang sign. Like, there could be celebrations that, yes, take it too far. But if this is just going to get to the point where almost every, like, pretty unique celebration is going to get called because, oh, think of the children, get out of here. Like, what are we doing, NFL? I think they've had enough enforcing of excessive celebration penalties. I don't think we need to add more. So, yeah, stop it, Roger Goodell, please.
Yeah, I mean, certain things, like, I think it's totally reasonable to say, like, no gang signs or, like, obvious violence. I mean, guns, I mean, back in school, they're like, oh, finger guns, you can't do those are threats. So, like, it's interesting nowadays. I think like, a finger gun, it's silly. I don't know. This is a weird celebration time we live in. I think some things are a bit ridiculous, but I don't know. It almost feels like sometimes you just gotta let them go. I mean, some celebrations are ridiculous, like that. I forget what player it was, but he started like humping in the end zone or something. It's like,
I think it was Jameson Williams.
Yeah, it was Williams.
If I remember.
Yeah, you can't do that. You can't do that.
But that was so funny.
That's like Antonio Brown kind of thing there, to be honest.
You want to see some of the celebrations he used to do when he humped his ass, when he was like shaking his ass and all that? He had the weirdest celebrations.
Yeah, so I don't know. It might just be part of his whole like new woke culture of like, you have to do what I want and you can't do whatever, but it's interesting. I guess we'll have to see how it works out this season. A 15-yard penalty is interesting versus just fines because I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens, what's actually enforced, or if refs just see something vaguely like something, then they'll be like, oh no. Like, I think the Jalix Hunt, like, he pulled the bow and arrow and shot it in the air in the Super Bowl, and he got a penalty for that. I thought that was a little silly, or he got fined for that. And then I think Bradley Cooper paid his fine for him, which is funny. But I don't know. Some things I think is a little silly. Like, I think a bow and arrow, yes, is used for hunting. Technically, it's a weapon, but like, he didn't like, he shot it up into the air. It's not like he's like, oh look, I'm gonna shoot Patrick Mahomes with an arrow. Like, it wasn't like an act of violence.
Oh, he'd be suspended if he did pointed.
Oh yeah, he'd be gone. No more NFL for him. But like, his last name is Hunt. There's definitely worse gestures he could make with that last name. But shooting a bow and arrow in the sky, that feels a little silly. So I don't know. There's an interesting line, but I guess we really only get strict or just kind of relaxed with celebration penalties. But
I just think fines are a bunch of chunk change to players. I don't think that's really going to enforce anything. Penalties is really the best you could do to because it hurts the team. If you fine someone $15,000 to $25,000, it's even if it's like a decent amount of change, still nothing because look at how much these players are getting paid.
Yeah.
So in that case, I agree, but the executive is a bunch of old farts that are too old school and don't love life or the game.
Roger Goodell.
AKA Roger Goodell. Quinn, this is a big one here. So playoff overtime rules have been moved to the regular season, which is
Eagles rule.
Both teams are going to possess the ball no matter what. But the one part where they kind of lose me is the fact that it's the 15-minute period that they played in the playoffs and overtime. It's 10 minutes for the regular season still, and it has not changed. I don't get that one because I think there's way more of a chance of tying, and I thought the NFL would make this move to eliminate the risk of tying, but now that you only had it, make it 10 minutes. And with teams like Kansas City and Philly and other good teams that like to take their time driving the ball, you're risking a lot of ties unless teams go for two. So I like the fact that finally both teams have a chance to possess the ball. I feel like that's completely fair. I remember back in the days when I first watched where you could just kick a field goal and it was over. That would never happen anymore. So I'm happy we're making it even for both teams, but I would have just made it 15 minutes. I think that would have been the simple solution. But still, I'm not going to complain too much. I think this is a positive change.
Yeah, it's nice that the Eagles changed, or Eagles suggest something and it got put through. I do think 15 minutes would have been nice because it feels a little more, okay, you actually have a chance, or other team actually has a chance to score, and it feels although I can understand it because 15 minutes feels like a lot for overtime. It's only 5 more minutes, but whole 15 minute, that's getting close to a quarter length. Not obviously not at close in actual terms, but a lot closer than 10. So I get that, but it's nice that I think this was proposed to try and make the game more fair. And I know a lot of teams get screwed sometimes. I mean, the Eagles haven't really been in that scenario, which I think is also good that we proposed it in that case because it's not just oh, look, the Bills got screwed over in overtime. Now they're trying to change the rule because they got hurt by it. But yeah, I think it's a good rule. I like it. It makes things a little more fair. And to be honest, I don't mind ties. I think it's a little more interesting in the record. I mean, it doesn't look great. It's also kind of funny to see Ravens 13, 1, and 1. It's heh. But yeah, I think it's a good rule. Solid.
It's turned into soccer with all these damn ties. But the next, or one of the last big rules that we'll specifically just talk one-on-one about. Quinn, salute to the chain gang. Rest in peace. Not rest in peace fully, but they will not be fully needed as much anymore because finally the league will now use Sony's Hawkeye technology to enforce and measure the line of gain next season.
Wow.
The chain gain will be in the field as a backup, which I think is smart in case the technology goes to crap because of weather concerns or it doesn't work. But this was long overdue. I think we talked about it a couple of times. I think you brought it up a couple of times throughout this season on the podcast. They've needed to do this for years. It's 2025. This should have been done at least 10 years ago. But I'm happy we're doing it now. So incidents like the Bills-Chiefs game on that 4th and 1 could finally not be determined by a bunch of old people running up to the line and trying to measure to the best of their abilities. You see the picture I have above Quinn's pretty infamous of the index card because the ball was so close to the line of gain that dude had to use an index card to see if the ball touched it or not to determine a first down. As much of a meme as that was, we don't need to see that anymore. So out of all we'll get into I'll just recap the rest of the rule changes after we discuss this, but I definitely think this was the best one, and I think this is the one that's going to be the most overwhelmingly positive and will improve the best.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're actually now using the technology we have. Novel concept. But
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, the chain gang, it's kind of fun, but it's nice to actually advance and make things easier as well. And yeah, don't have to use an index card. But,
Yeah, it'll be fun to see the Chang gang still get beaten up sometimes by players on the sideline. That's always fun to see older people just tumbling down. It's joy for the rest of us. I like to see people suffer. But quickly going over the rest of the rules, there have been changes to the dynamic kickoff rule, where now teams will start at the 35-yard line rather than the 30. It's a little bit weird because it's only 5 yards less than if a guy kicked it out of bounds, but I guess they're trying to get more returns. Instant replay assist will be expanded to help officials on specific objectives, blah, blah, blah. They say that every year. Teams will now get to have one video or phone call with no more than 5 future unrestricted free agents during the 2-day legal tampering period. So clubs will be allowed to arrange travel too if the two sides agree. Teams can now designate 2 players for return at the roster reduction of 53 players, and postseason teams will get 2 additional DFR positions, bumping up the amount from 8 to 10. And if team is in contention for the postseason, they could now receive scouting credentials for weeks 17-18 for potential playoff opponents, which is interesting. And teams that host wildcard games will provide scouting credentials to all teams within their conference that are in the postseason and serve as potential opponents down the line. There's a couple of others that we'll discuss here in a minute, like ones that got rejected, such as I think one of the teams proposed that the wild card or that the division or the playoffs aren't so much decided by division winners. They're just decided by record. I don't mind that at all. I don't need to see a 9-8 Falcons team host a playoff game, but it did get rejected by the league. So that was one of them. But Quinn, in terms of the rest of these rules, I would say the big one that I listed was the dynamic kickoff, but any instances or anything that caught your eye for the rest of these rules?
Nothing super exciting, like you said, we'll talk about dynamic or the playoff seating proposed by the Lions, but and of course the tush push and that getting delayed. But yeah, I mean, the dynamic kickoff is interesting. It seems like they're really just like, all right, guys, you're not doing what we want, so let's make it a little more returnable, right? Yeah, we're gonna have fun. Yeah. No, but yeah, it's interesting seeing them do the dynamic kickoff better. Yeah, do it our way. But yeah, otherwise nothing else super exciting. I mean, hopefully the reviewing of the plays actually develops more than just every year of we're just gonna use for a few more things. Hopefully there's an actual jump in usage. I thought the scouting team credentials was really interesting as well for the playoffs. It kind of just gives the wildcard teams a better chance to prepare, which should make for more competitive games. And I think that might have been passed too. I mean, one, because teams are going to want that anyway, so it's going to benefit them. But also, I mean, for the most part, 7 seeds they've gotten blown out or just lost pretty badly since they've been introduced, except for the last year when the Packers beat the Cowboys. But otherwise, yeah, suckers. But yeah, otherwise, 7 seeds haven't been really doing that well. So I think this also helps for competitiveness and maybe this gives them a better chance and we'll have better, more entertaining games. So we'll see. But yeah, nothing super wow, look at that. Gee, that's going to change the whole NFL landscape. The Raiders are going to win the Super Bowl next year because of that,
I mean, to be fair, the wild card games like Commanders Bucks is really the only one that was memorable wild card weekend. So I don't blame a team like the Lions for proposing something like this because there have been division winners that have been 8-8, even a couple that have been under 500 or 9-8. You feel like they shouldn't be hosting a wild card game. Look at Minnesota. They were 14-3. They had to go play on the road in a wild card game because of that and got blown out by the Rams. So who knows if they were kind of flukes anyway, but still, if you feel like a 14-3 team should deserve to host the game, so I kind of get it on their part, but the credential thing kind of helps with that to help teams prepare better. Maybe wild card weekend will be more competitive. I mean, the NFL added another seed for money. It's no secret. It's the only reason they added it. the Cowboys was like the only competitive 7-2 game. Everything else has been watching the perennial 7-seed Steelers get shit stomped by the real 2-seed team. It's usually how it is. So I don't see that changing anytime soon, but I'm in fair for a more competitive super wild card weekend because it's been anything but super. So Quinn, I'm about to make you blow a gasket. It's time to talk about the tush push controversy because there have been a number of NFL owners and coaches, specifically Matt LaFleur and Sean McDermott, that have been very vocal about this new tush push rule. I believe it's been around 50-50, 16 of the 32 that have voted for it to be banned. So the NFL just put their hands in the air like, okay, we have to delay this. And I'm starting to think the NFL itself wants this move banned just because they keep pushing it every year. And I believe the spring meetings are around, May 20th and the 21st. So I feel like around then, maybe after the draft, is when we're going to hear more rumblings about this. Quinn, the floor is yours. Go off. What do you think about this whole controversy?
Well, first of all, it's not a great feeling knowing that it's been tabled. Like you said, it was 16 owners voted to ban it, 16 voted against it. Starting with Sean McDermott, so the big argument is like, oh, it's not safe. Players get hurt. There is no data supporting that. Not to say there aren't players or it doesn't make people more likely to get hurt, but Eagles have done it a lot, and we've never got injured. We've never got injured off of that play. We've never got injured off of that play. Other plays, sure, but not the tush push. And, I mean, obviously, I support it. I mean, some people don't like it because it doesn't look like a football play. I think Sean McVay said that. It doesn't seem football to me, which, I mean, I get that. And, like, it's not like, oh, trying to run your running back up or throw a pass. But then football is a physical game. I'd wager it's pretty football-y, considering you have to have all of your team and offensive line slam against the other and forcibly push the guy through. Like, pretty physical. That football is a physical sport. So, like, it's not as traditional as, running the ball. But, I mean, honestly, I think it's a lot of other teams can't stop it and they don't like it. And because it's like the way it is, they can kind of try and get rid of it, citing, safety concerns and it's not proper football, because, I mean, I've seen a lot of jokes about like, oh, if you ban the tush push because you can't beat it, then why not, ban Travis Kelce option routes? And, Jamar Chase getting the ball thrown to him by Joe Burrow. Like,
where'd you get that joke from? I wonder who. Probably the same as me.
Cough. Benchwarmer brand. But yeah, I've seen multiple channels mention it like, oh, if you ban that, if we're just banning plays because they're good and people can't stop them, then why not ban all these others? Like, ban Saquon Barkley. Like,
just Saquon Barkley, just ban it.
Yeah, exactly, just gone. So it feels targeted, and it's a little insulting that they're like, no, the Eagles are good at it, no one else is quite good at it, but we want it going because of that. And it doesn't surprise me that much. Like, people tried to ban it last year, but they're like, But then Eagles won the Super Bowl, so it's kind of like natural that attention would be brought to it and people would be supportive of getting rid of it. Like, even if it is get banned, we're still going to figure out a way to do it. And like a similar play, and it's going to work too. But like the Jaguars stopped it twice last year. If the Jaguars can do it, certainly other people can figure it out. I mean, clearly it isn't just throwing Myles Garrett in the middle and just he's going to stop it. That's not how that works. I mean, the Eagles are good at it because we designed it with a quarterback that squats 600 pounds, a huge offensive line, bigger in the league. We have the strength to help us do it. And you can see that by the other teams not being anywhere as good at it. I mean, other people use tight ends to do it, and it still works for them. And like Buffalo tries it, and then they lose in the wild card, which I think is partially why Sean McDermott's like, I don't like it. It just lost me and didn't get me to the Super Bowl. I think he was good at saying something else too, but not like safety concerns. Safety concerns. And then, they'd have Josh Allen just run out there and get ragdolled by some random defender. And it's very kind of hypocritical. And it feels just mainly targeted. Like, the Eagles are too good. and this play is very good for them, and we don't want it anymore. I believe there's been some buzz about Roger Goodell not liking it and wanting it gone, and so with him not wanting it, it's kind of an issue, and unfortunately because of that, it might get banned. It's probably going to get banned because Goodell doesn't want it, which he can go screw himself, you know what I mean? Especially if he gets rid of that bastard. No, I never quite understood the booing of Roger Goodell. I felt bad for him a little. I get his tradition at the draft, but if he bans the tush push, I will be booing him. I will boo him on the first episode after this draft. You hear me? You can mark it down on your calendars. But unfortunately, I think it's probably going to get banned because of Goodell not liking it and it getting tabled. 16 people voted to ban it, which they need 24. I think, clearly there's 16 other owners are kind of like, yeah, that's kind of BS. Like, obviously we're not good at it, but like, we're not just going to ban it because we can't stop it, you know? But yeah, hopefully those guys stay strong and it doesn't get banned because I don't think it really deserves it. But again, I'm a little biased. But it'd be interesting to hear, Dylan, what you think. Do you think it should be banned? Should it not?
It should not. It should absolutely not be banned.
I knew I liked you.
You knew I had potential. I have a weird feeling that there's a little bit of tampering going on between the league office and some owners. I think, considering it's 16-16 in terms of votes, I have a weird feeling they're going to try to convince some teams to vote against the Eagles' tush push. So maybe it could be like, oh, the votes won. Let's ban the move. I don't know about this year, but I do unfortunately think they're going to ban it because anything like this, that whether it's a stupid argument saying it's an unfair advantage, but to teams it is, they're most likely just going to ban it. I just have a weird feeling they are. But here's a tip. Get good at it. And on the defensive side, learn how to stop the damn play. Because like you said, the Jags seemed to stop it. Philly was not as good at the tush push last year as they were when Jason Kelce was playing. Like, they were still fine with it. They still succeeded most of the time. But they still struggled at times. Like you said, the Jags game. So, and like you said, McDermott's such a hypocrite. Oh, player safety rules. I'm so sick of coaches or like the league trying to give a shit about safety rules. The league specifically just makes me so pissed because like, oh, we care about player safety. Let's make new rules. Also, we're thinking about adding a week 18 game. Let's play Christmas Day games. Let's do Thursday Night Football where they get 4 days rest and they don't look as good the next day. Shut the F up, NFL and coaches. Coaches is one thing, but NFL, you do not care about player safety, whether you want to admit it or not. I am sorry. But going back to coaches, yeah. Oh, McDermott. Oh, player safety. Also, hey, Josh, get this 4th down for me and get your head pile driven by Chiefs players, please. And also, not just the fact that they do the sneak. I think they've probably done it even more, if not like just as much as Philly. Your quarterback is also running the ball a lot because that's Josh Allen's style, and he's getting killed out there every play because he's that type of quarterback, kind of a Ben Roethlisberger-esque where he doesn't go down and he gets tackled. Like, it's a stupid argument. And LaFleur, too. The Packers did it a couple times with, like, Tucker Kraft because Jordan Love really isn't the QB sneak expert. But they tried to do it with Kraft, and it didn't work. So I'm so sick of it. When other teams don't know how to do it, you're just jealous. You're not good at it. That Benchwarmer Brand funny video about it when his Bills character, like, finally lost him, was like, they're too good at it, and started whining. That's pretty much what they're doing. Like, it's not about player safety. It's BS. It's because they think it's unfair and it's an automatic 1st down if it's like a 4th and 1. But learn how to stop it. Maybe try to do the tush-push defense version and push your player into the center to try to stop it. And like you said, there's no evidence that there's any injuries. I think Jason Kelce's expressed that he doesn't like doing the play because he's like, on the bottom of a pile of a bunch of 300-pound men, but he's up the next play and he's up there to snap it. So yeah, there's no evidence. It's ridiculous. They shouldn't ban it, but unfortunately, I think it's going to be just because it's such like a popular, demanded thing. Is it fun to watch? I mean, if you're Quinn, it is, I mean, it can be a little bit boring. I know people said it's like rugby, but a lot of football and rugby are similar. So that's just a stupid argument in itself. So yeah, I'm with you, Quinn, 100% on your side. And I think a lot of people that I've seen on social media completely agree that this is just stupid. I really hope my Steelers are on your side, Quinn, because they should be, especially with how old school and traditional they are. So I hope my Steelers are the good guys here, but who knows with the Rooneys. But I'm sorry about at least you got a Lombardi trophy, so they could ban it all they want. You still got the trophy, and the team will still be good even if they ban it. If they think that the Eagles are like, oh no, the push is banned, whatever could we do? The season's a failure. Get the hell out of here. Philly's still going to be one of the elite of the league, so stop it. Okay, a little deep breath there. But now let's go trying to have a little more fun here. And Quinn, this is your first time. We're going to take a look and make fun of the coach pictures here. Apologies, Quinn and viewers. It's a little bit blurry, but here it is presented here, the coach's picture. Obviously, you got your boy, Phillies coach, Nick Sirianni, towards the center next to Andy Reid, always wearing his traditional Hawaiian shirt. You got to love that. From what I'm seeing here, there had to be multiple cameras taken because a bunch of these coaches at the end were not even looking at the main camera. It looks so weird. So, pretty much all these outfits look like they're either at probably at some weird golf outing at a country club that you and I can never afford. This is so weird too, because what the hell is that background? They usually are at like an island or a beach or something, but it looks like they're in some weird cathedral building and they just needed a cool background. Like, what is that? It's so weird. Quinn, you got any funny comments? Anything you noticing in this picture?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they had an AI do a picture of like a Spanish like villa, but on the beach, but a mansion. And they're like, that's great. We'll put that in the background. And all the owners are standing there with their hands clasped in their laps like, yes, yep, we're all the same exact position. I mean, I like how they're all just staring like straight forward.
Yeah, we are. Mike Vrabel's the only one that stands out in terms of like a position. Like his hands aren't behind his back at all. He kind of looks like a little kid that's just happy to be back. He's happy to be coaching again. Mike Tomlin's in the center. Of course, he's not wearing polo, which is weird because he usually does, and he always has the sunglasses.
I was gonna say, does he have his sunglasses on in front of his shirt?
I'm surprised he's not wearing them. He always wears the damn sunglasses, no matter what the weather is. It's the weirdest thing ever. Pete Carroll and Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll and the Harbaughs. Carroll being between the Harbaugh brothers is so funny, just because the history he has with both of them. Carroll feels like the middle child out of them, like the awkward middle child. He looks damn good for his age, though. I want what Carroll's eating because he looks so good. He's like in his 70s. Yeah. Hey, but Andy Reid still looks good too with that mustache and Hawaiian shirt, so can't complain.
Where's Mr. Duval?
Oh, where is he? Where's Duval? Oh, I see him. He's the fourth on the left, and he's got a cheesy smile.
Yeah.
He's the fourth on the top, but there he is. Yeah, all these new I'm looking at this, and all the coaches have like some of them are serious, but like he has like a weird smile. It's a little bit odd. Sirianni's in shorts. He's in khaki shorts.
That's the most Sirianni thing I've seen.
I know, and he's the only one in the front that is wearing khaki shorts. It's so weird. McVay looks fly as ever. He might be the best dressed out of all of them. I mean, he's from LA. I mean, you look at pictures of him and his wife. I mean, he's got good taste in clothes and women. And we have just been canceled. But
yeah. Meanwhile, it looks like Mr. JD Vance is in the front right next to McDermott.
Yeah, he does. It's so weird. It does from like a distance. Mike Tomlin and Dan Campbell being next to each other, giving like a hard look at the camera in the center is so funny. They're both like hard nosed, hard ass coaches. Who else? Mike McDaniel again, looking weird as ever with his cheesy smile. I bet he was like trying to be like the biggest comic there.
His own drugs too, probably.
Oh yeah. He probably borrowed some from Aaron Rodgers and he's like, go nuts, man. But yeah, Rich Eisen, we have done our job for you because I know he's on vacation this week because I watch his clips.
Welcome.
I'm on you, Rich. So you're welcome. You don't have to do it. You don't get to have fun because we did it for you. So
yeah.
Just throw us. We would like our incentives. We would like you to mail it to. Okay.
No, just put it. Bring us on the show. Bring us on the show. Yeah, we'll have a great time.
We'll travel to LA. I'll skip college for this, and Quinn will skip his job for it.
I mean, I was just gonna join on like Zoom or something.
What do you mean? We're going in person together. But no. Hey, Tom Grossi was there, so sky's the limit.
Yeah, so I believe it's the Yankees and the Padres as well. Don't quote me on that, but basically, there's a guy named Aaron Leonhardt. Apologies, but he was a former MIT physicist. And then he went and worked at the with the Yankees as an analyst, and he's now with the Marlins. All of that to say, he has been credited with this torpedo bat design and driving the design. So basically, normal baseball bats just keep getting wider and wider towards the end of the bat. But here, what they do is the bat gets wider in the middle and then narrows out towards the end. And the weight shifts from at the end of the bat to the center more so and loses some weight. So with pitches being faster than ever nowadays, this helps a lot. And the swing, some call it the swing weight, or if you prefer, the moment of inertia of the bat, means it's easier to swing and control. So there's been a whole lot of home runs, I think.
Look at the Yankees.
Yeah, one of the Yankees players got, I think, 3 home runs in one game. So it's been really beneficial, and it's been considered this new like novelty advancement, which some people are like, this isn't old school baseball. But I mean, development and technology and advancement's nice. I mean, I get baseball bats are baseball bats, and that haven't really been changed much, but it's not against the rules. And I mean, I think it's a smart move. I mean, the rich get richer almost. The Yankees are a very good franchise. Maybe not as successful in this century as they have been in the past, but they've been very successful the past few years. And I think it's a smart move. It also, with the bat getting wider and then narrowing again, gives more surface area, which is also great for, hitting. And I have gotten this information from dpr.org, so credit where credit's due.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I want the Phillies to start using this because that'd be great. I did just buy tickets to a Phillies game later in the season, so that'll be fun. But fortunately, it's against the Braves, and they haven't been doing so hot. But hopefully they decide to start getting better. We'll have to see. And also, the Phillies just played their first game against the Dodgers and delivered the Dodgers their first L of the season, 3-2. Let's go!
Good for you.
Yeah, 3-2. It was 1-0 in the first inning, and then there's no more scores until the 7th when the Phillies scored 2 more.
Dodgers are human. Good.
Yeah, take that, suckers. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's definitely interesting. I think a lot of teams are going to start adopting this if they can get over the shock of like baseball bats changing. Gasp. But yeah, I mean, maybe not traditional hard-nosed baseball, but I think it's a smart move. Technology advances, sports advance, and that's part of life. And I think I hope the Phillies start using them too, because I like home runs.
Quinn, I hate the Yankees. I hate them so much. But anybody that's going to be such a hard ass about it, and such an old school knucklehead about it, oh, this isn't the game, and even people that are suggesting to get rid of it, are absolutely stupid. This is innovative, and it helps so much, like you said, Quinn, with pitchers now pitching faster than ever, with guys like Skeens, who could pitch 100 miles an hour as a starter. That was unheard of 10 years ago. Now pitchers are just throwing in more innovative ways than ever. The MLB has shifted from a runners on base type of league to a strikeout home run league. It has really become a league of strikeouts and dingers. That is pretty much what the MLB is predicated on. And the funny thing is, Aaron Judge doesn't even use torpedo bat. He's just so good, he don't need it. And the Phillies, I know it'd be cool to incorporate it, but you don't need it as well. You're usually one of the better home run hitting teams in the league. Also, shout out to my shitty Pirates. Lost their home opener to the Yankees 9-4 because they are ass. Shout out to my cousins, too, who got Pirate season tickets. You are idiots. Why would you get season tickets to a team that is going to be well below 500? I guess because, maybe Livy Dunn will be in the stands for one of the games. So let's get tickets for all the games and hope one day that we can see her and get to meet her and then show off to our family. The ballpark's beautiful, but I can't believe my cousin's got season tickets. But shout out to you. That's going to be a short right there. And your ass is going to get called out for it because it's just stupid. Like I said, at least the ballpark's nice. But yeah, I like it. I think it's innovative. I think if you thought you saw a lot of home runs, you're going to see a crap ton more of it. And pretty much it's going to get to a point where pretty much all the teams incorporate it. It might depend on in terms of affordability as well, because the Yankees are one of like the richest teams in baseball. Another team that sure as hell don't need it are the Dodgers. Ohtani's just a cheat code. The man is not human. I don't know how he does what he does. Dude, the walk-off home run he hit against the Braves, it was like a pitch that should not be hit out of the ballpark, and that man just skied it. That man, even if he gambled, which I were to bet he did last year, I'll put money on it that Ohtani gambled, the dude's still a cheat code. He doesn't need it. There's a lot of the star players that don't need it. Honestly, the torpedo pat might go to guys that are really struggling at the plate and could use that. It may mean that it's like boom or bust. It's like a strikeout or home run, but that's the type of style that's in the MLB today. So I'm all for it. Go nuts. Home runs are fun to watch. Go ahead. And this is coming from a guy who hates the freaking Yankees so much. My roommate's a Yankees fan. He went off about this when we discussed this a couple of days ago. But I don't blame people for being upset at hardcore old school fans that don't like it. Like, we evolve with the game. We see it with the NFL rules too. Can it get a bit gimmicky at times with rule changes of leagues? Yes. But I think this is one for the better. So, yeah, good for your Phillies. My Pirates suck, and torpedo pats equals more fun baseball. Consensus. But now it's time to get to the AFC West review. Quinn, floor is yours. Talk about the champs.
And they're not the champs.
AFC
They're
West champs, so.
That's true. Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I thought you were talking about Super Bowl champs. I'm like, not this year. Anyway. So, yeah, the Chiefs, they had a disappointing season for what the fan base expects. And that's a Super Bowl loss. I mean, getting the Super Bowl is great. Most teams would give an arm and a leg and probably chance the playoffs for the next 5 years to get to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs just get to the Super Bowl every year now, practically. With the exception of the Bengals, I think they've been to every Super Bowl in the past, 5 years or something. I don't know. But, yeah, and it was quite a disappointing Super Bowl as well. I mean, getting blown out and just didn't score a point till the third quarter practically. Or I think it was the third quarter, end of third. It was a devastating loss, a terrible way to end the season. They just got totally outmatched and outplayed. I mean, many people, including ourselves, said the Eagles had the most talented roster going into the playoffs, and that really showed, and that's what won the Super Bowl, a more talented roster. The Chiefs did do a great job at stopping Saquon Barkley. Barkley did not get the yardage, and the Chiefs haven't let up I think, more than 100 rushing yards to a running back in the playoffs in the past 5 some years, which is impressive. And I mean, that streak continued, but unfortunately they let up passing yards and passing touchdowns. Yeah. So while they did well in one aspect, they floundered in the other. And their defense or their offense, Mahomes just got harassed all game. And then with their O-line, thought their O-line was good. They kind of fixed it up from the Tampa Bay Super Bowl. But then it's kind of needing a rebuilding again. Joe Tooney is gone for a 4th-round pick to the Bears. Another one of their guards, I believe, is gone, or a guard of theirs is gone, so they have to do some work there. But we'll get to that a little later. Otherwise, their playoffs looked about normal. They won a close game against the Bills. Normal playoffs, check. They beat the Texans pretty soundly. So defeating a team in divisional round, check. Being number 1 seed, check. So up to the Super Bowl, they're doing pretty well. They were 11-0 in 1-score games, which is absolutely crazy, incredible. They had some crazy plays, crazy luck too. We'll talk about it later. I'll talk about it later. But the Broncos blocked field goal. Crazy. There's a lot of controversy about them too, and maybe not controversy, but people are angry about them winning all these 1-score games, and like, oh, they're getting lucky, or oh, they have some voodoo magic. But I mean, they did damn well. I believe they're 14-3 throughout the whole season. They started off with a great game against the Ravens, where the Ravens could have won, except for Isaiah Likely. His toe was out of bounds, which, as good as a mile out of bounds. So they won just by 1 touchdown there. That was a close game. That really kind of set the tone for the season. If they would have lost that game, could have been very different. But they didn't. And so they beat the Bengals next week by 1 point. And the Bengals, they just continued their streak of being terrible at the beginning of the season. And they kind of continued that a little long, but we'll talk about that another day. They just kind of kept rolling. The first loss they got, I believe, was to the Bills in November. They lost 21-30 against the Bills in Buffalo. Not entirely surprising, though, when the Chiefs play a really good team that they see in the playoffs, Super Bowl. Usually they lose in the regular season and they win the playoffs. So I don't know if that's some mind game where Chiefs kind of hold back a bit in the regular season, don't show their full array, don't open their bag of tricks completely because they don't care. And then they save that for the playoffs and win. And regardless of what they're doing, it works, But there were some closer games. I mean, they beat the Raiders by 2 points. A little close for comfort. I believe that was a game that the Raiders easily could have won. But, I mean, it's the Chiefs. They've been dominant even when their wide receiver core is just literally all hurt. I mean, Rashee Rice got in some hot water with driving. And so he was out for the season. I believe he also injured.
Yeah, Mahomes injured him. He took out his leg.
That's true. Yeah. He also took out his leg. So they signed Hollywood Brown. He was out for a while. They traded for Hopkins later on in the season, and he didn't really he had some impact during the regular season and a little during the postseason, but their wide receiver core was still kind of empty. But I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster is back. He didn't really do anything substantial. Yeah. I don't like him either. But yeah, I mean, they did really well overall. I mean, it's just that Super Bowl that screwed them. They lost the Super Bowl to the Bills and to the Broncos. And to be fair, the Broncos was week 17. Oh gosh, we might be saying that in a few years, but yeah, week 18 or 17. The last week of the season, they didn't start. They had Carson Wentz starting with their backups and scored 0 points to the Broncos 38. Damn. But yeah, so another typical Chiefs season, but definitely disappointing because of that blowout in the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce wasn't doing very well this season, and he started picking up in the playoffs, but was enough to win the Super Bowl. Honestly, right now, the Chiefs' biggest needs, I say, would be the O-line. I mean, wide receivers would be nice. I believe they kept DeAndre Hopkins, or maybe Hollywood Brown. They kept one of the two. I mean, either way, it's still not great. I think Rashid Rice is going to be coming back from injury. They drafted Xavier Worthy last year, and he played really well for them overall. I mean, screwed the Bills over. He's a really good player, the speedster. I'd say kind of like a Tyreek Hill, obviously taller and skinnier and not quite that kind of thing, but pretty fast. Makes really good plays for them down the field. Runs or yards after catch. He does really well. I mean, the Chiefs have the 31st pick. Honestly, I think O-line's a good option. I mean, after the Super Bowl, maybe they'll just take defensive linemen too. I don't know. Their defense wasn't as great this year, but it was still pretty good. Like I said, not quite as good as last year, but things happen. They paid their cornerback, I believe. And so now it's just trying to load up, fix the issue they had last year, and see what happens. Because this Super Bowl was really reminiscent of the Bucs Super Bowl, and they lost 2 Super Bowls now where Mahomes just gets harassed all game and doesn't have an O-line and just loses. So, like, the way to beat them is out there now. And it'll be interesting to see how they respond to that and say, okay, well, you're not going to beat us like this anymore. We're going to do X, Y, and Z to stop that. And, I mean, X, Y, and Z will be offensive line, and offensive line. But it'll be good. There's a bunch of good linemen available later on in the draft. Honestly, you can take your pick. Some mock drafts have the Chiefs moving up a few picks to like 25, 26. The Rams need more picks, so they could jump up to 26. But if they stay at 31, I mean, Josh Simmons, a tackle from Ohio State, is a pretty good option. I mean, if they want to take defensive line, they can take Derek Hammond from Oregon. But, yeah, honestly, it's the Chiefs. They're going to do well regardless of what you do. They're not going to be as good this coming year, I don't think. Considering, I mean, they're 11-0 in one-score games. That's hard to do back-to-back years. So I think they'll definitely have a little bit of a worse record. We'll have to see about seedings. We'll do full predictions in the fall, getting closer to the season. It'll be an interesting off-season reflection and hopefully rebuilding the O-line.
Yeah, it definitely will be interesting. It's kind of weird, too, because it felt like they weren't as good as their record, but you can't just dismiss them because they won all those one-score games. I just feel like Philly was the worst matchup for them in the Super Bowl, and that was the bottom line. But I don't expect to see KC fall off anytime soon. They're going to be the top of the food chain for years to come. They're the new evil Empire Patriots. Don't expect anything less. But we got to go to their counterparts, and I'm going to talk about the LA Chargers. And I think you could best describe this season as a really damn good movie with a flat ending. That was the Chargers season because they exceeded expectations. I don't think anybody expected them to sniff the playoffs. I certainly didn't. I thought it was a rebuild year. But no, Harbaugh got them to an 11-6 season, and they made the playoffs, but it ended terribly, and that, no doubt, was their worst loss out of any of the season. If we're going to go regular season, Tampa Bay just completely blew them out the water late in the season, like 40-17. That kind of exposed, which was weird because their defense was ranked one of the best top 5 in football, and they lost the Bosa, but I don't know if he's that big of a loss just because he's so injury prone and they just have good guys all around on the defensive side of the ball. But Jim Harbaugh, man, that man was the highlight of their team. That man will go into a fire for his quarterback with how much that man just loves Herbert. It's insane how he can pump someone up. He's such a good motivator. I know a lot of people have Harbaugh dismayers, but I personally like him. I think he's a heck of a coach. He was really good with the 49ers before he left for Michigan. Took the Niners to a Super Bowl. Took Michigan to a national championship win. So we'll see if he could do the same with the Chargers. I think they have great potential. It's just the way they lost. It was kind of a shocking loss, too, because They lost to a team that looked pretty terrible this season, and the Texans that kind of didn't look as good as we thought, but then all of a sudden they just looked bad. Herbert threw 3 picks all regular season, along with 23 touchdowns. Amazing ball control. And then he threw like 3 or 4 in the wild card game. It was just a disaster. Other stats here, J.K. Dobbins did really good. 9 touchdowns off of 905 yards. He is gone. They did release him because they picked up Najee, so that's going to be interesting because Najee, maybe they expect to get a little better stats out of, and also, too, he just stays on the field way more than J.K. Dobbins. They're pure opposites in terms of availability and injury concerns. And Najee, too, always gets you 1,000 yards no matter what. Ladd McConkey was another huge highlight this season. The only Chargers receiver with over 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Quentin Johnston, a lot better of a season than next year. I know, Quinn, you and I got into debates about him all last year. He got 8 touchdowns. The yards is disappointing with 711, but I feel like that's just his ceiling. That's just kind of how Quentin is. It just shows how McConkey kind of carried this receiving room in the Chargers, because Jim Harbaugh, it's no secret, him and Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, are ground and pound. They are going to run the ball down your throat and play good defense. And I feel like that was good for Herbert. I feel like he needed to not feel like the weight of the world was on his shoulders on the team, but still produce out there. I just think the big thing next year is, I mean, obviously they need more pieces, but Herbert he just has to play better in the playoffs, because his 2 playoff starts, he's not looked good. So he needs to improve upon it. I mean, you and I, especially you, Quinn, you like Herbert a lot, especially because of the school he goes to and the fact that he graduated with the science degree. So
biology, yeah.
So he's obviously very intelligent, and he's a great studier of the game. So I bet he studies the game well, but he just needs to perform better when it comes playoff time. And that's the bottom line. I feel like the defense is pretty set. If we're going to go draft-wise, it's tough, but I feel like wide receiver is a must for them. It's a shame because they have the 22nd pick. So a lot of guys are going to be taken. I'm trying to see that McMillan from Arizona. I think he's the best receiver in the class. He's probably going to be gone pretty quickly, around the top 10. Burden, the third from Missouri, is another one that I think a team like LA would love, but again, just a little bit too high there on that draft board. So I feel like there's 2 options. I feel like Matthew Golden from Texas could be a good pick just because of his speed. And I feel like Harbaugh and Herbert would love a guy like him to connect with him. He was known for, and there's a little debate about his 40-yard dash time, but he's a really good route runner and great quickness. Or you can go with Ibuka from Ohio State. And he led Ohio State to a national championship. And he kind of reminds me of Larry Fitzgerald in terms of the fact that he doesn't drop passes. He only dropped 12 in his 4-year career at Ohio State. So that man, if you give him the ball, he's most likely going to get it. I would personally prefer Ibuka over Golden, just because I feel like Golden's a little bit of like a high risk, high reward, but like could be like the lowest ceiling. Well, I think Ibuka could fit the Chargers really well, but I think a receiver will do them justice. But a terrible ending, a flat ending for the Chargers, but still a really good season for them.
Yeah, I'll mention quickly because I saw it on my on the NBC mock draft that they have the Chargers taking Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. What's interesting though is he played for Jim Harbaugh for 2 seasons, so maybe
I get it. Yeah, I guess the connection's there. I just don't know tight ends that necessary in the first round, but it's reasonable, I'd say.
Yeah, but yeah, I agree. I think, I like the Chargers. I like Justin Herbert. Yeah, but who's even better The Denver
Oh, yeah.
Broncos. Maybe they're not actually what our record was. Anyway,
Well,
who cares
Quinn's
about
pick
little
of the
details?
Quinn's pick of the year. I'd probably say the best DQ frenzy pick, the best cold take of the year was Quinn's
Yeah.
Broncos playoff take.
Yep, and they barely made it in, but by dingy, they made it. So the Broncos, if you didn't know, we're starting out with Bo Nix as their rookie quarterback. I believe he started the season as well. I don't think anyone else did. Forgive me, I'm not a Broncos fan. But anyway, yeah, so Bo Nix, rookie quarterback, Sean Payton. Bo Nix was kind of off and on in college. He was kind of good, but also kind of, I don't know. So they went into the season not really expecting much. I thought they could do well, and I picked them to go to the playoffs. And they started off with a loss to Seattle. 6 points in Seattle, not great. They lost to the Steelers, but then they started winning. They beat the Buccaneers by 19 points. They had a close game against the Jets, beat the Raiders. They did lose to the Chargers there at home, which isn't great. But they started rolling. They lost to the Ravens a bit later, 41-10. That was a kind of like, okay, yeah, can they beat the best teams? Maybe not. The Ravens were very good this year. They lost to the Chiefs by 2 points in November. That was their loss where the Chiefs the Broncos were about to kick the field goal to win the game, beat the Chiefs for the first time in forever in Arrowhead too, and the Chiefs blocked it. Heartbreaking for the Broncos. You kind of feel bad for them a bit. They've had a lot of heartbreaks the past few years. What's interesting is so they finished the season 10-7. This is their first winning record since 2016, where they're 9-7. They just got the winning record there, and the first time they made the playoffs since 2015. And I believe that might have been the year they won the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning, or at least they went to the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. But so it's been a while. They finally got back, and they did get blown out by the Buffalo Bills, 31-7. Again, this year they couldn't quite hang with the really good teams. I mean, they even lost to the Bengals in overtime in the second last week of the season. But their season really kind of came to a climax when they played the Colts in week 14, I believe. And so after this game, they beat the Colts 31-13, smoked them. They're 9-5. They had 3 games left in the season. They needed 1 win to get in the playoffs, and they played the Chargers in LA, and they lost 34-27. Then they played the Bengals, like I said, overtime, lost 30-24. Granted, these were tough games. I mean, both were very good teams. Bengals arguably, well, they weren't in the playoffs because they weren't good enough, but they were really on a hot streak and late of the season. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow were popping off. And then they played the Chiefs in the last week of the season. Talked about this before, but Carson Wentz started. Chiefs got 0 points. Broncos went to town, 38 points. And they made it to the playoffs and then continued to, well, they didn't do too hot. But Bo Nix, I'd say, was a good surprise for them. No one quite exactly expected what happened. He didn't play incredible. He had a 66.3% completion percentage, 3,775 yards. Not bad for a rookie. He had 29 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Again, not too bad. And a 93.3 rating. That was pretty good. Postseason, he didn't do so hot. He had a touchdown, but 144 yards. Not great. But he definitely has a promising future, especially with Sean Payton. He could definitely be in more playoff games. He's not quite the star quarterback. I mean, there are some arguments he should be Offensive Rookie of the Year when he did well some weeks. He wasn't close to Commanders quarterback Jane Daniels. Just wasn't. But he feels like, to me, almost kind of like a little bit more talented Jared Goff. He definitely has a ceiling like Goff, but with the right team around him and the right coach, I think he can definitely go far. I'd argue that he can get to the Super Bowl if he has a good team around him too, and he's only going to continue to develop and get better. Well, hopefully for him and his sake. but definitely a promising future. The best season the Broncos have had in years. I mean, they almost beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead. That's a pretty great accomplishment for them. But Broncos fans are pretty happy, I'd say, with the season. Again, it's not great getting blown out in the playoffs, but it happens. Getting to the playoffs is great. Like I said, for the first time, since 2015, getting to the playoffs. But this year, their pick isn't great. They have the 20th pick. According to PFF, their biggest needs are running back, wide receiver, center, and defensive line. So looking at their roster, their running back number 1 is Jaleel McLaughlin. And then some guys that no one probably knows their names. Yeah, exactly. So running back would definitely be a great option. Now, I'd imagine they'd want Ashton Genty, but with the 20th pick, I don't know if that's going to happen. Running back values have kind of been varying and fluctuating a lot recently. And so, but especially this last year with Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley just balling out on new contracts, I think the running back position is kind of coming back up in importance a bit. And so I have a feeling Genty will go well before they can grab him. Now that CBS Sports mock draft has them taking Omarion Hampton, a running back from North Carolina. There's been recently more drafts with another running back going second or within the first round. One even had him going like in the top 10. I don't know about that. Now that it's April and the draft is approaching, there's going to be a lot of BS smoke screens. No one's really going to know what teams are actually doing because at this point it's getting too close. So mock drafts kind of fall in the same category a little bit where it's just more chaotic now. I mean, these writers obviously aren't actually drafting, so they don't need to make smoke screens. So it's a little more accurate than NFL teams saying, we really like Jimmy. Yeah, we're definitely going to take Jimmy. Well, they're trying to get the Cowboys to be like, oh, I need to trade up and get Jimmy, and then they get someone else. But, yeah, the Broncos, definitely great season. The running back and wide receiver classes, well, I believe the running back class is somewhat deep this year, so I feel like taking a wide receiver in the first round would be better. Again, like Dylan was talking about, the wide receivers are kind of how far will they make it? It's a difficult question because the draft really just it almost goes along a flow of like the best players are taken the first like 10, and then it starts a run on different positions. And like maybe one year it's tackles, all the tackles go, and then like you don't get a defensive player picked until the Eagles pick last year in the draft and taking cornerback with Quinn Mitchell. But we have weird trends in the NFL. I think the Broncos really just have to sit there and see, okay, who's the best player available for us? Who's going to fall into our lap, and who do we take? And that's going to be the best option for them. I mean, if a good tight end drops to their lap, like they had the Chargers taking Colson Loveland, who knows? The Broncos could take him. I mean, he'd be a good pass catcher. I mean, they have Courtland Sutton and Marvin Mims as their 1 and 2. Courtland Sutton, he's good, but he's not great. I personally wouldn't call him a number 1. Maybe 1B, you could somewhat argue, but they definitely need more pass catchers. Running back would be nice, but like I said, deep draft. So they have a lot of options. I wouldn't say they have any like glaring needs other than running back and wide receiver being important, but Broncos have a bright future, and it'll be exciting to watch them and see what happens. And hopefully they don't compete too much.
Well, you mentioned about comparing Bo Nix to certain quarterbacks. I would say I would compare him to a stronger arm Drew Brees, and I think it makes so much sense because of Sean Payton and the history. I feel like that's why Payton drafted him, because he has a similar play style. He's fairly accurate. He just is a lot more mobile and is willing to take chances, but I kind of see a little bit of a Drew Brees vibe. Like if maybe he could work on his craft a little more, he could be on the caliber of him. So obviously it'll take a toll to get to Brees' level, but I definitely think that's a good comparison for him. So we talked about the good teams. I'm unfortunately stuck with the last wet turd of a team of the Las Vegas Raiders. Where to begin with this?
Just don't.
Yeah, that'll do it here for the team. Okay, no, I have to talk about him, unfortunately. Brock Bowers is good. There you go. Jacoby Myers is a decent receiver. Not a number one, though, to me. I feel like you need someone to help him out, but still pretty good. Both of them got over 1,000 yards. Like I said earlier, Brock Bowers have one of the best tight end rookie seasons of all time, if not the best. So you at least got him. But that running back room, the quarterback room, everything was just a big pile of shit. I mean, it got so bad. They had to start Desmond Ridder for 6 games to finish the season. The only quarterback that looked okay was O'Connell. That's it. And that's just because stats-wise he protected the ball, but he doesn't wow you. Minshew, he's a backup. He is not meant to be a starter at all. So the Raiders even thinking that he was a starter. Just have him be a backup and have him go to frat parties and party, because that's what Minshew is. And like I said, Ridder, he sucks. What do you expect? But oh my God, that running back room. When Alexander Madison and Amir Abdullah is all you got, you're in for a long season. 420 yards for Madison, 311 for Abdullah. They couldn't even combine to get 1,000 yards. They had to get Zamir White in there for a couple of games. It was just that the roster just makes me want to puke looking at them. I mean, worst loss, Quinn? Take your pick. All their losses were bad.
All of them.
I mean, if I were to say the worst, probably be the Steelers one, just because that might have been the ugliest I've seen the Raiders play all year, and just the turnovers and how bad their defense looked. They made the Steelers offense look good. That's how bad the Raiders defense was. The Chiefs loss you pointed out earlier, they kind of maybe got screwed because the center fumbled it, but the Chiefs kind of jumped, but they never called anything. That might have been maybe one of their better games all year, almost beating the Chiefs, but that maybe goes more of how weaker the Chiefs were more than about the Raiders. What sucks about the Raiders is the AFC West got better. I think this year people expected it would just be the Chiefs and maybe LA, and that's it. But the problem is now LA's pretty good and Denver's good. And I don't see either of them falling off. So the Raiders, I think, are in deep trouble. I think this is going to be a pretty long rebuild for them. I think their owner's a bumbling idiot, Mark Davis. I don't think he's a good owner. Couldn't compare to his father, Al Davis, who was one of the more controversial but better owners of all time, and a man that was willing to take chances. Mark just doesn't have that. The biggest name on the Raiders is a minority stake owner who only owns a couple % of the team, Tom Brady. That's when you know your team sucks. I'm surprised Max Crosby wanted to stay, but I guess the money counts. At least he wasn't Myles Garrett, where he's like, oh, I'm definitely leaving. Oh, what was that? How much? At least Crosby was kind of name your price and I'll be willing to stay here. And the Raiders need him so bad. They need him. The Geno signing we've talked about many times. It's an upgrade, but I don't think it's playoff upgrade, especially in this division, having to play Mahomes and the other two teams twice a year. So, yeah, like I said, this is just going to be a really long rebuild for the Raiders. I mean, the Devontae having to leave to go to a even shittier team, the Jets. It's just been a disastrous few years that Devontae's had. They have not been good, the Raiders, since the days of Carr. And even then, they only made the playoffs twice in his tenure. The Raiders haven't been really, really good in a long time. Not a lot of time. In this century, I would probably say since the Super Bowl they lost to Tampa back when I was a baby in 02, 03. That's really the last time the Raiders were relevant. That year, the Tuck Rule year, obviously they were a victim to that too. Ever since then, it's just been a bad 20 years for them. So in terms of drafting, I don't need to look at any PFF or any of that because anything less than Ashton Gentry is a stupid pick for the Raiders. Let me see. I think they're the 6th pick. And maybe the only other pick I could say is maybe if you want to get like McMillan from Arizona because you're that desperate for receiver help. But their running back room is so bad. It still is now. I mean, do you want Raheem Mostert to start this year? Is he your number 1? No. You got to draft Ashton Genty. Genty's a guy I personally would love to go to Pittsburgh. But if anyone other than the Raiders were going to get him, they'd have to trade up big. Like you mentioned, Quinn, the Broncos, like they could use him. But like Denver or Pittsburgh would have to trade up and pass the Raiders. And I just don't think that's going to happen with how high that pick is. I think Genty's a clear lock to the Raiders. I think he'll fit them very well. But I still don't think they're going to be a good team this year. I don't. I think they'll maybe like 1 or 2 wins better, but still dead last. But they'll be fun to watch at least because of the players they have on the team. They won't be terrible. And just the coaching decisions too. Antonio Pierce at the time may have looked like a good hire, but he was a player's guy. He only did that because Max Crosby threatened to leave if he didn't get hired. And looking back, that was just not good because Pierce was just not meant to be a good head coach. Going back to the Josh McDaniels hiring too. That's why I said I think the owner's an idiot because I just think he doesn't know football well. I think he doesn't make good football moves. The Brady move's the best move that man's made in forever. But the problem is he's such a minority owner. How much say does he really have? Like he can give you expert knowledge, but I don't know how far that's going to take you. So yeah, the Raiders, bad. I just don't think it's going to get any better for them.
I'll give the Raiders fans some hope and some credit for the Raiders. I'll say. I mean,
Ooh, don't.
There are some like bright spots and some good like pieces, right? I mean, so you have Pete Carroll as a head coach. That's pretty good. I would feel good about having.
Forgot to mention him.
Yeah, so like there's that. Geno Smith, not a great quarterback, but okay, a lot better than some others. I mean, he's a starting quarterback, top 32 quarterback in the league. Raheem Mostert, if he could play like he was before, he was pretty good. I mean, he got jumped in Miami by A-Chain. He was just doing phenomenal. But before that, Mostert played pretty well. I believe he got hurt, which is also what caused the spiral. But Mostert not bad. And if you put Genty in there, then it's like, okay, that's good. That's exciting. Genty almost reminds me of like Bijan Robinson a little bit. I'd say Bijan is a little better.
I'd say it's fair.
But anyway, then you have Jacoby Myers, who, like you said, I'd be fine with saying Myers can be a 1, more of like a 1B, definitely. But I could see it. He has the talent. He was good. I think him and Devontae Adams were a good combo. Myers was able to get a lot of targets and catches without like the number 1 cornerback on him. I don't know how he's been doing since, but not bad. I don't know who the Duck, Trey Tucker, Kyle Phillips are for wide receivers, but and then Brock Bowers, very good tight end, best rookie tight end in years, and of course Max Crosby on defense. So I think you definitely have some bright spots. Excuse me. I mean, Jeremy Jennett at safety isn't terrible, but obviously most of the team, a majority of it is. There are some spots that you can have hope, I think. So don't worry, Raiders fans. You have some players that you can watch so you won't like get bored out of your mind and hate football.
I'm sorry, but that's just at best what you're going to get is a fun team, but still last in the division because that division's too stacked.
Yeah,
to me,
last in the division probably. But
sorry, LA, or sorry, not LA, Vegas. At least you can gamble your money away. On that note, that's going to do it here for the TQ Frenzy episode. Stay tuned within the next few weeks because, Quinn, it's draft season. And one of these next few episodes, we'll see which one, maybe the closest one to the draft. We're going to do a full first-round mock draft, and that's going to be a lot of fun to discuss and analyze. But we will keep doing the divisions next week. So that'll be a lot of fun as well. And we'll also recap the championship games of college basketball. But for Dylan Shields and Quinn Schmiedel, then the DQ Frenzy, where we always got chill vibes and cold takes. Have a good week, everyone. We'll see you right back here next week.
Bye.